Hello, my name is Antonia Munoz, and this is my movie analysis of the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding. My Big Fat Greek Wedding follows the main character, Tula Portokalis, as she grows up in America, but in a very Greek household with a very Greek family. Tula is expected to work at her family restaurant or to find a husband to make babies. She actually ends up going to college and she meets a man, and his name is Ian. Despite Ian's lack of Greek, him and Tula end up getting married. And throughout the movie, Tula introduces Ian to her family, to the culture, to all the traditions of what she's grown up with being Greek. We see a lot of different concepts in this movie, but I want to focus on the assimilation that she's gone through. At the beginning of the movie, we see a whole lot of distaste for how she's grown up. As she explains her family, she says a lot of, oh, they're big, they're loud, and they're Greek. And she says this a couple times throughout the movie, but in the beginning, it's definitely said with a negative tone, suggesting that she's not very happy or very annoyed by her family. She goes through the movie pushing against all of the culture that her parents have raised her with. However, when Ian joins the family and falls in love with Tula, and she really introduces him to the cultures, uh, she seems to find a new appreciation and a love for her family and the culture that she's been raised in. By the last scene of the movie, we see her and Ian walking with their daughter to Greek school. I find this very interesting because at the beginning, she had a very similar scene. She was a young girl and her mother was telling her she had to go to Greek school. Tula didn't want to go to Greek school though. She wanted to go to the Brownies where all the other girls in her class are going. However, she still went to Greek school. And in this last scene, Tula's daughter says, I don't want to go to Greek school, I want to go to Brownies. And Tula says, yes, well, you're going to have to go to Greek school, but you can marry any man you want. This really suggests that she's come to accept and embrace both of her cultures, of the Greek and the Americans. I think that the gender roles and the ethnocentrism and the religious identity play a big part in the assimilation process that she's had. We see in the beginning there's a lot of the gender roles that may have negatively impacted her. For example, she's told that she is old and needs to get married by her father. Her father, Augusto, is very insistent that she needs to hurry up because she's running out of time. However, when Tula's brother, Nico, is talking about how he's running out of time too, Gusto looks at him and says that he's perfect, he has plenty of time, and he has no need to rush. The age difference between Nico and Tula is only 1 year. So shouldn't Nico be running out of time too? Or Tula having plenty of time? Along with that aspect of the gender roles, Gusto also makes a very negative comment about having educated women. In the beginning, Gusto didn't even want Tula to go to college. Tula brought it up to him and said, hey, there's this college program I'm looking at. I can learn computers. It'll be great for the business. And Gusto immediately turns it down. Doesn't even sound like he's listening. And later, Tula's mother and Tula go to Gusto and they're saying, oh, this we're having all these problems and education can help with this. And so Gusto finally says, oh, you're right. I have the perfect idea. Let's send Tula to college. It wasn't Tula's idea. It was Gusto's that made it okay. And despite having said this, he still made the comment, I knew it was a mistake to let Tula get an education. Along with gender roles, we do see a good bit of ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism is the belief that one's culture is superior. We can see this a lot in Gusto's distaste for Ian and the way that he likes to choose a word and find the Greek meaning of it, or the Greek origin of it. With Zeno, that word means foreigner. and Gusto often calls Ian a Xeno. But it's never in a positive light. It's always, oh, you could have had a nice Greek man, but instead you chose a Xeno, which implies that automatically a Greek man would have been better. He wouldn't have had to prove to himself that he was a good man, whereas Ian, a Xeno, has to, even though he is a good man, from what we know. And when it comes to finding the origin of a word, Gusto likes to say, okay, any word, and I will show you how it came from the Greeks. There's one specific example where the word is kimono, which a kimono is a Japanese style robe overlaying thing, but he manages to relate it to Greek, saying it sounds like a word, and this word means robe, and that's how you get kimono. So even though it didn't really come from the Greek language, he still found a way to relate it. This isn't the worst of the ethnocentrism, but it really suggests that he thinks that English only came from the Greeks, and thus that shows that he thinks that the Greek is better than Americans or even the English language. Lastly, we have religious identity. The religious identity seems to be a really important aspect for the Portacallis family. Before Gusto will even accept that Ian wants to marry Tula, Ian first has to get baptized. After the baptism, Gusto really seems to get excited, and even the rest of the family seems to get excited about Ian joining the family through marriage to Tula. But before that, it was, how dare he's not a nice Greek man. Along along with him having to get baptized to become an Orthodox Greek, the wedding had to be held at a Greek church and be in traditional Greek. There's a conversation with Ian's parents and Tula where, when they mention that they found the date they want, Ian's parents say, "Oh, we'll call the country club and we'll get something figured out for you. It's no problem." However, Ian says, "No, it's okay. We're going to have it at this Greek place and follow Tula's family's religion because it's very important to them." And while the wedding is in Greek, traditional Greek, they even have the walking around of the altar, the first steps together. It's spoken in Greek. There's songs in Greek. Even the even the reception was held at a place called the Aphrodite's Palace, which is named after a Greek goddess. So it really does show just how important the religious identity is to the their Greek culture, and how they've been raised. Uh, Overall, though, I think having introduced Ian to all this, the religious identity, I think it really changed the way that Tula thinks. And also relying on her family the way that she has, I think it created a new love and acceptance and understanding of her family and their culture. And while in the beginning it was their big, loud, and Greek, it became their big and their loud and the Greek. Just said so much more accepting and lovingly almost, which really shows that she she really went from the distaste to the acceptance. Uh, I think this movie was a wonderful and fun way to show the average person that there's the struggles of having grown up with two religions and trying to really find that balance and the acceptance of both of those religions. Um, I really enjoyed it, and I think that having watched it, even I've watched it so many times as a kid, but even now watching it with having all this knowledge and being able to think critically about it, I think it was still a great eye opener to all the problems that someone might have with, growing up in such a difficult and different way that I've grown up. Thank you for watching my presentation.